Donald Trump is falling apart, physically, politically, and psychologically, and everyone can see it except the people paid to pretend otherwise. He's desperately trying to mask the decline, but every cover-up just exposes more weakness. The bandages, the slurred words, the rambling speeches, the jittery hand movements, it's all there. And now, even Trump himself is admitting that his health is not great and that he needs new medication. For a guy who spent years claiming to be the strongest, smartest, most robust human on earth, that's a stunning crack in the myth, and the campaign knows it. That's why they sent Caroline Leavitt out a few weeks ago to swat away questions about Trump's physical state like it was some kind of insult to national honor. But the defensiveness made it worse. The more they insist he's fine, the more obvious it becomes that he isn't. This is the same man who mocked Hillary for coughing, who mocked Biden for aging, who bragged about passing a dementia test like it was the SAT. Now the emperor is coughing, limping, and begging for new medication. The truth is simple. When your brand is strength and dominance, weakness is fatal. And Trump's entire persona is cracking right down the middle.
Thank you. The president's been spotted out and about a number of times with bandages on his hands. Could you please explain what that is about? Secondly, he noted on Truth Social the other day that he had aced 3 cognitive tests. Could you please clarify when those tests took place?
I can do that at a later date. I obviously don't have that in front of me. The president has spoken about that quite extensively throughout the years. As for the bandages on the hand, we've also given you an explanation for that in the past. The president is literally constantly shaking hands. The Oval Office is like Grand Central Terminal. He is meeting with more people than any of you even know about on a daily basis. He's also on a daily aspirin regimen, which is something his physical examinations has said in the past as well, which can contribute to that bruising that you see.
Reporters finally broke the polite silence and asked about the bandages, the bruising, and the discoloration on Trump's hands. And the campaign practically sprinted in the opposite direction. The moment the questions turned to health, cognition, and those mysterious tests he's always bragging about, the operation switched to filibuster mode. We'll get back to you. The president has spoken on that. We addressed this before. None of it answered anything. All of it confirmed everything. Because the one thing they cannot afford to do is attach specifics to the myth. Then came the excuse factory. Suddenly the bruising is just Trump constantly shaking hands, as if Mar-a-Lago is Times Square on New Year's Eve or the West Wing is a cattle call for diplomats. We're also supposed to believe he's tearing through meetings like some hyper-productive executive when most of his days are split between sulking, revenge-dialing loyalists and meltdown posting on Truth Social. And the aspirin remark? That was the real tell. A quiet admission that Trump is on a regimen associated with age, clotting risk, and cardiovascular concerns. Not exactly the invincible strongman his campaign merch is selling. This is where the subtext becomes text. If Trump were as healthy, sharp, and commanding as he insists, the campaign wouldn't be dodging timelines, inventing metaphors to explain bruises, and threatening reporters for asking the most basic questions. Political operations only manage optics this aggressively when the reality looks worse off camera. And if this were anyone else, Biden, Harris, Pelosi, right-wing media would already be running medical specials in prime time. The question isn't whether the bruising matters. The question is why they're so terrified of transparency. When a campaign refuses to investigate the small things, it's usually because the big things are too dangerous to say out loud.
One is they did a report in the fake news New York Times where I worked this day from early in the morning till late in the evening, but we don't give out a full schedule. It's like who the hell wants to give out a schedule to these people? But it's all work. And this, in particular, this day was brutal. I never got to leave the seat. I couldn't do anything. It was just one after another after another. And this went on from early in the morning till late in the evening. And my people gave out a report. He had lunch. They show a report, lunch with somebody. And they did a story. Donald Trump is slowing down. He only had lunch. And then he went back up, and they said, that's malfeasance, whoever did, right? No, it's just terrible. I was actually more angry with my people than I was with the New York Times. But they wrote a story, and it takes you a period of time to recover from these hits. And it's almost no matter what you do, but you have to keep a positive eye.
Trump spent an entire section of his speech trying to sell the idea that a day consisting of sitting, talking, and having lunch somehow qualified as a grueling feat of presidential endurance, the kind of punishing schedule reserved for titan CEOs and heroic figures from Roman antiquity. The New York Times suggested he was slowing down, and instead of laughing it off or ignoring it like a normal politician, Trump detonated into a 5-minute rant about how brutal his lunch meetings were and how unfair the media was for documenting the obvious. But the comedy wasn't in the complaint, it was in the paranoia. Trump was furious not that the media noticed he had lunch, but that his own staff let that detail escape into the world. In Trump's universe, admitting that a 70-something candidate needed to sit and eat is tantamount to political sabotage. The crime wasn't that he slowed down. The crime was that the illusion of boundless vitality was punctured. That is Trumpism distilled. The image must always be dominant, tireless, alpha, and inexhaustible. The moment the curtain lifts, the myth loses power. And this is where it gets revealing. For Trump, image isn't a campaign accessory. It is the campaign. The strongman persona is the entire product. There is no ideological backbone, no coalition leadership, no governing philosophy beyond performance. So when the Times mentions lunch, Trump hears the death rattle of the brand. Strong men don't take lunch. Strong men don't sit. Strong men don't complain about schedules. They stride across stages, shake hands until their knuckles bleed, and dominate every room they enter. At least that's how he wants to be seen. So Trump starts assigning blame to the press, to the New York Times, to his communications team, to unnamed aides who malfeased him, his word, not ours, to anyone except the reality that the spectacle just doesn't hit the same anymore. That's the thing about decline narratives. Once the audience sees it, you can't unsee it. And the harder a political figure tries to insist that nothing is wrong, the more the denial becomes the story. What makes the whole episode darkly funny is the logistical silliness of it. Trump is mad that reporters noticed he got tired. He's mad that people can see the grind catching up. He's mad that the myth is aging faster than the legend can keep pace. But that's the irony. The more Trump insists he's not slowing down, the more the effort of insisting becomes the evidence that he is. This is the paradox of Trump's branding. When your entire political persona is built on dominance and vitality, any sign of ordinary humanity, lunch breaks, fatigue, downtime, age, becomes a threat. And once the aura cracks, even a sandwich becomes scandalous.
Ozempic is $80 in London, and it's $1,300 in New York. The fat drug. A friend of mine called me up. He said, "What the hell is going on?" A very rich guy, but I said, "The fat drug doesn't work on you. Why are you even taking it?" The drug has failed miserably, but he's a very loud, boisterous. He's not a bad guy, not a great guy. He's smart as hell, but he's a very rich guy.
Trump launched into one of the strangest riffs of the night, a bizarre monologue about Zempic, which he repeatedly called the fat drug, as if he were performing pharmaceutical stand-up for a country club audience. According to Trump, it costs $80 in London and $2,300 in New York, and then suddenly we're hearing about an unnamed, very rich friend taking it, being loud, boisterous, and somehow both smart and a victim of big Ozempic at the same time. It was chaotic, it was rambling, and it left everyone wondering how we got from American politics to Trump diagnosing strangers' weight loss strategies like an unlicensed carnival doctor. But here's the real tell. Trump doesn't do digressions without purpose. When he fixates on a product, a price, or a body, it's because he's trying to redirect the conversation away from himself. The timing is not random. This rant happens in the middle of a national conversation about Trump's own physical decline, the bandages, the bruising, the whisper campaigns about stamina and cognitive sharpness. So what does Trump do? He projects. He jokes about fat drugs. He mocks other people's bodies. And he turns self-conscious medical discourse into a sideshow about other people's insecurities. Also, notice the structure. Trump flatters the mystery friend, smart as hell, very rich, and then humiliates him. The fat drug doesn't work on you. Why are you even taking it? That's pure Trump psychology. Proximity to wealth and status earns temporary praise, but vulnerability earns mockery. Even his fans know the formula now. Trump sees insecurity as weakness, and weakness as a political liability. So while he rambles about Zempic, what he's really doing is begging the audience to see him as the opposite: strong, sharp, vital, in control.